It's a library, and we're going to look into the library today. It's created by the specific group of people that has come today. You are infinite beings extending through time and space and beyond. And when we come together, we create a very specific field that has never happened before, and it will never happen like this again. And so the knowing field is what we work with in constellations. We don't know how it works, but we know that it's there. And you will discover for yourself the way that you work in the knowing field. Constellations is a way to develop your intuition and your ability to convey messages that don't necessarily come from you. It's an energy dimension. When working in the healing arts, if the modality you're working with does not have a spiritual connection, it's probably not going to work out. A spiritual dimension to healing is essential, because ultimately we are reconciling the difference between the physical world and the eternal, spiritual, energetic world. And when we get stuck, we're not moving. And what Constellations helps us find is the healing movement. Medicine is not an object, it's a movement. So it could be the gesture of taking a pill or a liquid, or it could be the gesture of no longer taking those things. We don't necessarily know until we look at what your particular situation is. When we set up a constellation, what we are looking at is the way you are perceiving something. The way you are perceiving something has been determined by your family system. Your family system is a very, very, very large energy field going back generations through time. And two people met that led to you. You have a lineage of parents who are your ancestors. And those ancestors experienced things in their lives. They experienced good times, and then they experienced difficulties. And when they experienced difficulties, they made decisions about life. They passed those decisions on to their descendants. They raised daughters and sons with that energy in them, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. But basically, you were taught beliefs, and you were taught those beliefs as if they were truths about life. You were taught them by your parents, who were taught by their parents, who were taught by their parents. So you have within your belief system what your great-grandparents believed about life, what they believed about relationships, what they believed about money. You are functioning from that energy field. And you can change it if it's not working for you. Because just because something was presented as true doesn't necessarily mean that it is true. And when we set up a constellation to look at a belief system, we're going to first identify what that belief is and if it's a problem. Because not every belief is causing a problem. And then if it is, we find a way to change the belief. That is determined by your willingness. And the reason you might not want to be willing is because changing a belief that was passed down to you from your family system gives you the quality of feeling as if you might be leaving your family system. You're not, but it feels as if you are. And the need to belong to your family system is more important to you than being alive. You will do anything to stay in your tribe. And so we want to speak to that psychology so that you can expand your life and not function from beliefs that were created centuries ago and are no longer relevant to today's culture and situations. You want to look at what you were taught, and if you feel now, if you want to change those thoughts and beliefs. But we go at the pace that is right for you. I do not have any opinion about where you should be on your learning path. I'm where I am, and you're where you are. Sometimes we need to spend time in anger, or grief, or sorrow. We don't necessarily know how long we need to do that. And I can't possibly decide for you when enough is enough for you. That would be moving into me judging you. I don't know what your path is, but I know you're on one. And I know that that path is constantly looking for release and relief. Sometimes burning with that anger is helpful. It burns you out of a dysfunctional situation, and you need to get out of a dysfunctional situation, and you need that anger to burn. And once you're out, you probably don't need to burn anymore. If you keep burning with anger, you will be preventing new life from coming in and influencing you. So we use anger to cleanse and remove ourselves from situations we want to change. And when we want to move on from that, we need to recognize we've achieved that separation to the degree that's possible. And we need to let go of the anger. So sometimes we set up a constellation to locate your anger in the first place. And sometimes the constellation reveals that it's time to move on from the anger. And that's challenging. So that's one aspect that we might run into today. Another aspect would be grief and sorrow. It's kind of the same principles, except we're dealing with fire when we work with anger, and we're dealing with water, tears, when we work with grief and sorrow. How long does it take to grieve? How long does it take you? When are you ready to let go of the sorrow? The answer to that has to do with what you believe the meaning of what you lost is. And we can look at that in a constellation.